Hi, and welcome back to Museum at Home. Now today we are heading back to the time of ancient Egypt. I find there is something really fascinating about ancient Egyptian life and beliefs. I don't know what it is, whether it's the spooky mummies, the royal pharaohs, the complicated hieroglyphics, or the huge pyramids, but something really captures our imagination. And today we're going to look at Egyptian life and beliefs by exploring some objects kept at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. And these objects can tell us an awful lot about what life was like at that time, thousands of years ago. So what objects are we going to uncover? Well, today we are going to look at model boats. Now this might sound like a very strange thing to look at, but ancient Egyptian model boats tell us loads about the way that ancient Egyptians lived in the past. Now around 4,000 years ago, Egyptians filled the tombs of royalty and the wealthy with models of things that they used in life. Now it was believed that they would need all of these objects in the afterlife, after they died, and so models of these objects were placed in their tombs. In many royal tombs we can find lots and lots of model boats, because boats played a huge role in Egyptian life and in culture as well. So first of all, take a look at this painting. It's an exact copy of a wall painting that was discovered in a tomb in the ancient Egyptian city of Thebes. What does it show? Well, what can you see? Can you spot the squiggles in the corner? These are hieroglyphics. They're pictures representing words, and that's what the ancient Egyptian writing system was made up of. Now look at the boat. How would you describe it? Well, to me, it looks colourful and eye-catching. In the centre, can you see a line of rowers? They're powering the boat forward. And what about the two figures at the top? What are those figures doing? Well, they look like they're holding some kind of whip. And they look like they're forcing the rowers to row quicker. Now, can you see the long pole at the back of the boat with the coloured paddle in the water? Well, that was the oar that was used for steering or for changing direction. Now, this painting can tell us loads about the way that ancient Egyptians used boats. This is an exact copy of that wall painting found in a tomb in Thebes. And I think it just goes to show how well preserved these wall paintings can be. Doesn't it look fresh? Doesn't it look colourful? I mean, considering it's over 4,000 years old, that's quite impressive. Now, archaeologists believe that tomb paintings have survived so well in the climate in Egypt because it is so dry, and so the paintings are less likely to crumble away and to rot, as they would in damper conditions. So why were boats so important to the Egyptians 4,000 years ago? Well, that is because of the huge river Nile, which snakes its way through Egypt. The river was the way to transport things. It was the way to move building blocks, food, and for pleasure. Fish could be caught, people could bathe, and the waters of the Nile allowed for the fertile land that you find around Egypt. That meant that crops could be grown, and so the river was really a source of life. Boats were a common sight on the River Nile, and this is reflected in the afterlife as well. Ancient Egyptians saw boats as symbols of movement and of transport, and so as a symbol of the journey from life to the afterlife after someone dies. Because the river and boats played such an important role in the life of ancient Egyptians, in wealthy burials, models of boats were buried along with the deceased, and they would also have lots of models of houses and servants and even farmers and craftsmen, things that would be useful in the afterlife. Tombs were absolutely full of these models. Take a look at this model boat, which was made 4,000 years ago for the tomb of Metropolitan in Upper Egypt. Now let's go back to some of our key question words to think a little bit about this object. What? What is it? What can we see? What can it tell us about life in ancient Egypt? Who? Who is shown? Who are all of these different figures? Why? Why was it made? Well, we know that ancient Egyptians placed models like this in tombs so that the dead could use these items in the afterlife. So what exactly would this boat be used for? Let's have a closer look. Have a look at the figures in the front of the boat. What are they doing? What are they holding? Well, it looks to me that they could be holding spears, a weapon of some kind. And in the middle of the boat, can you spot a woman holding something, presenting it to a man? It's a bird of some sort. Well, archaeologists suggest that this is a sporting boat. The people on board are hunting. They're hunting fish and birds. They're presenting them to the man who is sitting down. Now, the man sitting down is being offered a bird by the woman, and that man is Metropolitan, and it is his tomb that this model was found in. Now, he and his son are watching the hunt from a shaded seat. Clearly, Metropolitan wanted to enjoy himself in the afterlife, and so this model of a sporting boat, a pleasure boat, was added to his tomb. But what else can we learn from these boat models? Well, we can learn a little bit more about what ancient Egyptians wore. Have a look at the servants. Now, the servants, the hunters, the rowers are all wearing a sort of skirt, a bit like a kilt if you've ever been to Scotland. And the woman, well, she's wearing a dress with some kind of pattern on the back. Now, these would all have been made from linen, a very light and a very cool fabric, and that was perfect for the dry, hot climate that you find in Egypt. Now, take a look at this different model from roughly the same time, 4,000 years ago. This is another boat model found in a tomb, but this time the boat is being used for transporting a mummy. In ancient Egypt, it was very common practice to actually take a body across the Nile on a boat before burying it. And that was to reflect this journey of the soul that the ancient Egyptians believed took place from life to the afterlife. Now, this model was found in the tomb of Ukhhotep in Middle Egypt. Can you spot the mummy? Yes, it's right in the centre underneath a canopy. This model can tell us something about ancient Egyptian ideas of life, death and burial. Look closely at the mummy. Can you spot that he is wearing a mask of some kind? After a body was preserved by removing certain organs and using salt and linen coverings, the mummy would be given a mask. And that was in order to allow the soul to recognise the body in the afterlife. And it was also to protect the mummy as well. You can see a mask here on the mummy on this boat model. Now, they were often highly decorated, and in this model it seems to be one that is made in rich turquoise colours. Now have a look at the figures around the mummy. Look closely. Can you spot the priest who is wearing a leopard print cloak? What is he holding? Well, it's a scroll, and this scroll would contain the words which requested food and drink in the afterlife for Ukhhotep. Only high-ranking priests could wear leopard print. Why? Well, because the ancient Egyptians believed that leopard print was considered to be sacred, and the leopard was considered to be a sacred animal. Now, if you'd like to have a go at some follow-up activities on the theme of ancient Egypt, and also to have a go at thinking about what kind of objects might be taken to the afterlife, then click on the link in the description of this YouTube video or head to the Museum at Home website. Now next time, join me as we explore the world of the Antarctic and we uncover the amazing expeditions and journeys which took place to the Antarctic in the 20th century. So, I'll see you next time for Museum at Home.